Welcome to the next video in my series about the Dark Eye core rules, and this time we are talking about chapter 11 about the priests and the rules for priests and casting liturgies and performing rituals, and talking a bit about the gods. And this chapter, or a lot in this chapter, is exactly the same rule-wise as it is for the spell or the magic chapter. For example, you cast a liturgy in the exact same way as you cast a spell, and you perform a ceremony in the exact same way you would perform a ritual when it comes to the rules. There are some differences, and I'm going to explain the differences, but everything else I'm just going to skip and say this is like spellcasting, this is like performing rituals. So you might want to watch the spellcasting and performing ritual videos before or after you have watched this to understand everything fully. So, and the first thing is already something that is quite similar and yet has a difference. It is the aspects of the gods. Here are two aspects described for every god, and you can specialize in an aspect or get knowledge in an aspect. That's a special ability, and it's like the spell class specialization or spell class knowledge special ability. A spell has a spell class, you can specialize in the spell class, and when you specialize in the spell class, you're allowed to level up or advance the spell to a level of higher than 14. And it also allows you to treat spells of other traditions like spells of your own tradition. And for aspects, it's pretty much the same. You have liturgies you can cast. Liturgies have aspects associated. You can specialize in the aspect. Allows you to raise the liturgy of that aspect above 14, and it allows you to treat liturgies of foreign traditions like ones of your own tradition. That's what's common. That's exactly the same rule, the same mechanics, but there is a difference in specialization in aspects, because when you specialize in a spell class, it is all about the spells. You specialize in the spell class because you want to learn and understand the spells better. You want to be able to raise them. That is an in-game explanation. You just study the spells, and that's why you specialize in the spell class, or the other way around. You know so many spells of that spell class that you just understand them automatically better, and that's why you gain the specialization in the spell class. For aspect specialization or aspect knowledge, and the in-game, this explanation would be different. It is not so much targeted around the liturgies. It is more how you want to serve your god and what aspect of the god you are more dedicated to, and it has an influence on what kind of priest you are and what is your work as a priest. For example, we have here the god Praeus, and he has the aspects anti-magic and order connected, because Praeus is the first of the god. He's the god of order, the god of light, the sun, justice, truthfulness, also of anti-magic. And maybe let you explain something about anti-magic within the Praeus church. It is not necessary to explain this for the aspects, but just to give you a bit of background, and also example for the living history of the Dark Eye. I haven't followed this closely, and I don't know what the current status is, but in recent years, in the Aventurian years, there has been a discussion, or there have been changes within the church. And for example, there has been a discussion about the attitude towards magic, because in general the idea of prayers was, or associated was with prayers, was a strong anti-magic attitude. So magic is something evil or is something bad, and you should avoid magic. Even if you use magic for a good cause, it would not be okay. Even if you try to save someone's life with a healing spell, that is something you should avoid, and it's not okay. There have always been different groups within the church with different attitudes, and some were more liberal and say that white magic is good, and if it's used for a good cause, then magic is okay, and only really evil black magic and demonic magic is always evil and always bad. And I, for example, own a campaign book where this change within the Prayers Church is a topic and is addressed, and you as a player can participate in the discussion about these topics and can influence the changes within the church. And there is one adventure in this campaign, one of different adventures, which addresses especially the topic of, is magic okay? When is magic okay? Because when I correctly remember it, there is an attack of black mages and of demons on a temple or a holy site of prayers. And what happens is, I think one of the people there, they're priests and just pilgrims and your heroes, and one of the people there, a pilgrim, uses magic, or he is even a low rank of the prayers priest. He's not a priest yet, but he is somehow in an order of prayers, and he was a former mage, but he has sworn to never use his magic again to serve prayers. But in this fight, he uses his magic to save someone's life from a demon, and he kills the demon and saves the life. And after that, there is a discussion. There is kind of a trial to find out if it was okay to use in this holy site or in this temple of prayers magic to fight a demon for a good cause. And the players can decide which side they are on and can bring on their arguments and participate such in the discussion of this topic. And in the whole campaign, the connection between prayers and magic is somehow addressed in different ways. But this is the most prominent part, the most prominent adventure that addresses this topic most prominent. That's just something, a side note, and something about the living history and background of prayers and the Dark Eye. You can specialize in this anti-magic aspect of the god, and that would mean you are someone who is fighting magic, at least plain evil, dark, black magic. You would fight demons, you fight any magical threat that arises. You would be someone who is sent out to fight it. And then you could specialize in the aspect of order, and order would mean you are, for example, are a judge, or you are an advisor, for example, for someone in power who reigns over people, and he wants to be his reign in the spirit of prayers, so he would call you as an advisor. The next goddess is Rondra. Rondra is the goddess of combat, of fight, of war, of honor, of storm, thunder, and lightning. And the right here, she is not so much the goddess of battle and the chaos of battle, and that is an aspect that is covered by some of her sons, by one of her sons, a demigod, and he's also the main god for mercenaries. Rondra is more about the duel of two combatants who are in a fair duel. No one is really clearly superior. Everybody has a chance in that combat, and no one has an unfair advantage like better equipment or simply better weapon, and only the skill and the courage should decide who is the winner in this duel. This is the ideal of Rondra, and you can specialize in the aspect of shield, of protection for Rondra. Then you would be someone who protects the weak who protects the followers of the 12 gods in general, the holy sites, the temples, and so on. And he could also specialize in the aspect of storm. That would mean you're an offensive fighter. You seek out your enemies. You're not so much a protector, and you don't fight off people. You seek the decision. You go out. You are an offensive fighter. And the next god is Boron. Boron is the god of sleep and the god of dreams and the god of death. And you could specialize in the aspect of death. This would mean you are someone who takes care of graveyards, or you are someone who takes care of people who are dying, or you are someone who fights necromancy or undead creatures and such. And if you specialize in the aspect of dreams, you are probably someone who takes care of mentally ill people, because there is an order of the Boron Church, the Noioniten, who is especially about caring for mentally ill. If you have someone who is mentally ill and needs to be taken care of, or who needs to be healed, you bring him to the Noioniten and they will heal the person or take care of the person as long as it is necessary. And you could also be someone who explains dreams, who analyzes dreams and tells people what their dreams mean and what maybe Boron wants to tell them through their dreams. The next goddess is Hesinde. She is the goddess of knowledge and magic, and you can specialize in magic. This would mean you are maybe a spellcaster yourself, or even if you are not, you are someone who studies spells, how they work, and you study magical artifacts. You search magical artifacts to use them or to hide them if they are dangerous. And you are someone who studies magical creatures or travels to magical places and studies them, and you would write down everything you find out, everything you learned in a book called the Book of the Serpent, so other people can learn from what you have found out later on. And when you die, the Book of the Serpent is given to a temple so they may keep it and others may learn from what you have learned. You could also specialize in the aspect of knowledge. This would mean you are someone who gathers knowledge, you study books, you maybe work in the library, or you are someone who travels around as an explorer and learns things about the wonders of the world and what he finds, and you too would write down everything in the Book of the Serpent so other people have a chance to learn what you have learned. Or you could be someone who spreads knowledge as a teacher for people or in other places, and you could also be someone who protects knowledge in the library, or someone who seeks knowledge that is dangerous and locks it away so no one can use it for a bad cause. The next god is Fex. Fex is the god of merchants and the god of thieves and burglars, and you can specialize in the aspect of trade, and that would mean you are someone who is an advisor to merchants, or merchants would come to you so you can bless one of the trades they make, one of the contracts they make. They may come to you as a mediator, so you would help them to come up with a fair trade, a fair contract they want to make. And these are things you would do if you specialize in the aspect of trade. You can also specialize in the aspect of shadows. Then you might be a burglar yourself, and you try to steal things, but not to become rich or to make the church more richer. You are trying to overcome a challenge. You seek a challenge. You want to steal things that are not only valuable, but that are difficult to get your hands on, and you want to show your ability, your skill, and your wit and your cleverness, because cleverness and wit are also aspects associated with Fex. And the last goddess is Pereine. Pereine is the goddess of of nature, the goddess of farming, the goddess of healing, of herbs and such, and you could specialize in the aspect of healing, then you would simply be a healer, and people would come to you when they are sick, when they are wounded, and they cannot pay for a normal medic. Then they would go to the temple of Perine, where very skilled Perine priests would help them, would treat them the best they can, and you wouldn't have to pay for it. They would expect that you give something, just a few coins or whatever you can spare, but you don't really have to repay priests of Perine for their service. And if you are specializing in the aspect of farming, you are simply someone who has a lot of knowledge about farming. You would be an advisor to farmers, how to treat the cattle, how to treat the land. Also, you would bless the cattle and the fields so they are protected, and you would even be someone who works together with the farmers on their land to bring in the yields and do such things. So that's the aspects of the different gods. And next I'm going to talk or not talk about the liturgies and about the rituals, but I'm not going to tell you something about how liturgies work, how you cast a liturgy, because it is exactly the same like spellcasting. The same rules apply. You have the same modification table down here, how you can modify the liturgies. It's exactly the same. And then there are ceremonies. They are the same as rituals. They're a bit different how you get bonuses on when performing a ceremony, because for the right time, you can also have a right time for a ceremony, like you can have a right time for a ritual that would give you a bonus on your test. But it doesn't depend on the star constellations, it depends on what month you are in, because every month is dedicated to a certain god, and it could be influenced if there is a special holiday for that god, and that would give you a bonus. But else it is pretty much the same, just how you get the bonuses is a bit different. So there's not much to say about this. If you want to know how it works, watch the video about performing rituals. Then there are some special rules. One is this Entrückung. I don't know how to translate it correctly. I would say it's a state of trance you get into when you're using a lot of karma energy. You are influenced by this divine power you're setting free, and it simply gives you a condition, and you get a negative modificator on everything you do. Then there is a rule for miracles. I don't know if miracle is a good explanation. It is just sounds the same as the German word Mirakel. And a miracle is you pay 4 karma points and you get a bonus of +2 on an attribute or on an attack or on a parry roll or something like that. It's very simple. And you don't have to make a test or something. And then there are rules or no rules for great wonders. This is not something the priest does, and it doesn't even have to happen to a priest. It is just a direct action of a god within the sphere of the mortals. The laws of the spheres and how the creation is made, it is not easy for God to directly do something in the sphere of the mortals, in the third sphere. It's difficult, and therefore it's very rare, but sometimes the god decides that direct action is needed, and he or she will do something to protect people or to do something against someone in the third sphere. And what is done, and if there's something done, it's completely up to the game master. He decides if something happens and what happens. And again, it's nothing a priest does. The priest is actually not involved. He may call for help, but also anybody can call the god for help, and the god may hear the call and may decide to act. And if such a great wonder happens, it doesn't cost a priest karma points or something, because the god is doing the action. Then there is an explanation about blessing things and how you create a holy weapon and holy sites and such. I'm not going through this in detail, but blessing would be done to everything you use within a ceremony, and holy things and holy sites are basically especially damaging to demons. So a holy weapon would be very damaging to a demon. It's kind of like a magical weapon, and how this exactly works is explained here. So that's it for this video. I skipped a lot and just said it is like spells, it is like rituals. So watch these videos. If you still have any questions about it, then feel free to ask, comment, write me a message, and I try to answer. But for this video, that's it. So bye.